All right, so welcome to the deep dive. Today we're going to try to understand how Block Inc. makes its money.
Sounds fun.
Yeah, right. What are its biggest costs? And I guess just like what makes this company unique?
Hmm.
And as always, we're not messing around with like secondary sources or opinions. We're going
Right.
straight to the source.
Straight to the
Their
source.
official 10K and 10Q reports. So, you know, think of this as like almost like a little mini MBA
That's a good way to put
on
it.
on Block
Yeah.
Inc.
Yeah.
directly from I guess their own mouths.
And you picked a good one to deep dive into because Block Inc., formerly known as Square, right?
Uh-huh.
They're doing some pretty interesting things in the financial technology world.
Yeah, I mean, I'm already kind of hooked. So
Yeah.
where do we even start with a company like this? I mean, they seem to have their hands in like so many different things.
Yeah. Yeah. It can seem that way, but their business model is actually really pretty focused. So imagine like two separate but interconnected worlds. Like on one side you've got Square, which is focused on like businesses.
Yeah.
On the other side you've got Cash App, which serves individuals. And this two-sided approach is like really fundamental to how they actually make money.
Okay, so two distinct ecosystems. Got it.
Right.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
But how does that translate into actual revenue? Like I'm looking at their financial reports here,
Yeah.
and it mentions things like transaction-based revenue and subscription and services-based revenue. Can you break that down?
Yeah, absolutely. So let's first with that transaction-based revenue. Um, Pretty much every time a business using Square processes a payment, Block's going to take a small percentage.
Yeah.
So it's like the classic payment processing model. But what's kind of interesting is that they also offer like custom pricing for larger clients,
Oh, really?
which, suggests that there's some flexibility in their deals.
Okay, so they're not just one size fits all.
Yeah.
Okay. So what about those subscriptions and services then?
Yeah, yeah.
The report mentions, things like Square Loans and Cash App services and instant transfers. What's that all about?
Yeah, those are key revenue drivers for Block.
Okay.
So take Square Loans, for example. Block can actually generate revenue in a couple of ways here.
Hmm.
So they can either sell these loans to outside investors for like an immediate profit,
Got it.
or they can hold on to them and earn interest over time.
Okay, that's interesting. But wait a second. I think I see a potential red flag here.
Oh,
In the first quarter 2024 report, it says like if investors aren't biting, Block might actually have to fund those loans themselves.
yeah.
That seems like a pretty big risk.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. You're right. And that kind of highlights this key aspect of their business model, which
Yeah.
is managing risk.
Got it.
But before we get into that, why don't we shift gears a little bit and talk about Block's cost structure?
Okay, yeah. So where does all that money go?
Yeah,
I mean, building two whole ecosystems like we're talking about can't be cheap.
you are absolutely right. A big chunk of that money is going to go towards product development.
Okay.
They have to stay ahead of the curve, in this hyper competitive world of fintech,
Yeah.
which means investing a ton in engineering, data science, design teams.
Makes sense.
And actually, their 2022 report even mentions a pretty significant increase in hiring to support all this.
Yeah, especially when you consider they're going head to head with, giants like Apple and Google
Right.
who are also trying to get into this financial space.
Right.
So that constant innovation has got to be really expensive.
Definitely, definitely. And then there's sales and marketing, which is like just essential for attracting both those new businesses and individual users.
Okay.
And the third quarter 2024 report kind of hints at some interesting strategies they're using, like potentially offering custom pricing to try to win over those bigger businesses.
So they're willing to spend money to make money.
Right.
That makes sense. But I also see this thing in the report called transaction loan and consumer receivable losses.
Right.
What is that all about? And the first quarter 2024 report, it mentions like some pretty significant write-offs related to Cash App. So what's going on there?
Yeah, so that's kind of the inherent risk in their business.
Okay.
Even with like super sophisticated risk management systems, there's always a chance of losses
Sure.
due to things like fraud, defaults, or even unexpected economic downturns.
Got it.
It's just a reminder that financial services they always come with some level of uncertainty.
Okay, so we've talked about how Block brings in revenue
Right.
and some of their like major expenses. But what does this all mean for the everyday user? Like, what's the actual value they're getting from Block's ecosystem?
Yeah, so that's where the customer value proposition comes into play. And Block has this like really interesting approach here
Okay.
because they offer this distinct but complementary value to both businesses and individuals.
All right. So let's break it down then. What are businesses getting from Square specifically?
Yeah, so with Square, it's all about providing this comprehensive suite of tools to kind of empower businesses of all sizes. Think of it as everything a business needs to start, run, and grow, all conveniently packaged into one platform.
Hmm.
They can accept payments, they can manage their inventory, offer loyalty programs, even access loans.
Right. Okay. So it's like a one-stop shop
Yeah,
for businesses to manage all of their
yeah,
financial lives, no matter how big or small.
typically,
Got it.
exactly.
Okay. But what about Cash App then? What's in it for like the individual user?
Yeah, so for individuals, Cash App provides this really accessible way to manage their money effectively. So think about it. You can store money, send money, receive money, spend money all within the app.
Hmm.
You can even invest in stocks
Oh, wow.
or Bitcoin if you're feeling adventurous.
Wow. That's a lot packed into one app.
Yeah, it is.
I'm guessing they have some features that really set them apart from the competition, though, right? Like everybody kind of offers these basic things.
Absolutely. Absolutely. One feature that I thought was really interesting was Cash App's Boost program.
Oh yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, so this offers instant discounts at certain merchants just by using the Cash Card. So that's like, real tangible value that people can experience every single day.
So they're not just offering the basics; they're trying to find these like creative ways to make their app more rewarding
Right.
and more valuable.
Exactly.
Got it. Okay, so that's Cash App, but I mean, come on, the financial technology market is so crowded.
It is.
So what really makes Block stand out from all the other options out there?
Right. Well, for starters, I'd say it's their commitment to building a complete ecosystem.
Yeah. Okay.
Not just like a collection of individual
Yeah.
products. They're trying to solve this wide range of financial needs for both businesses and individuals through the seamless and integrated experience.
Okay, so that's an important distinction.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just tools, it's a whole universe.
Exactly. Exactly. And if you look back at Block's journey, um, their origin story is kind of revealed in the 2023 10K overview.
Okay.
And you see this clear focus on empowerment.
Mhm.
Square was initially designed to give these small businesses access to payment processing, which was often out of reach for them before.
Yeah.
And it seems like that ethos has kind of carried over into both Square and Cash App now.
So they're not just about profits, they're also about making these tools and services accessible to everyone.
Right.
Okay. That's a pretty compelling story.
Yeah, it is.
Okay.
It is. And their global reach is another thing that really makes them stand out.
Okay.
They're operating in multiple countries all around the world. So, this demonstrates like a lot of ambition,
Yeah.
growth potential beyond their initial market.
Yeah.
Obviously this adds complexity, but it also says a lot about their vision for the future.
Makes sense. Okay. So they've got this incredible ecosystem. They've got this focus on empowerment, global ambitions, but running all of this has got to be incredibly complex.
Yeah.
So what are like the most critical things Block has to get right
Yeah.
to make this whole operation work?
Yeah, you're hitting on the core operational activities
Okay.
that are absolutely essential to Block's success.
Mhm.
And trust me, there are quite a few.
Well, why don't we dive into those in part two then,
Yeah, that sounds good.
and we can uncover the inner workings of Block and see how they manage this whole complex interconnected world they've created.
Sounds good. All right, welcome back to the deep dive.
All right, so in part one, we kind of explored Block's unique two-sided ecosystem, right? How
Yeah.
they actually generate revenue and this commitment to empowering users. But now I want to get into the nitty-gritty. Like, how do they actually make it all happen?
Yeah, yeah. And as we kind of hinted at before, Block's operational activities are really complex and super crucial to their success. So think of it as like this finely tuned machine with all these different moving parts, right? So let's start with technology development.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, they are a tech company at heart.
Right.
And the reports, they're constantly emphasizing the importance of innovation.
Right, right. And their 2022 10K report really, really drives this point home. They talk about constantly investing in cutting-edge technology, adapting to this rapidly evolving fintech landscape,
Yeah.
and just staying ahead of the curve.
Okay. But here's where things get interesting. The first quarter 2024 10Q um, reveals that they're actually aiming to keep a relatively small workforce,
Mm-hmm.
like capped at 12,000 employees.
Mm.
How do they reconcile this ambitious innovation with such a lean team?
Yeah, yeah, that's the real challenge for Block. They have to be incredibly strategic
Right.
and efficient with their resources. They can't afford to spread themselves too thin. It's really about maximizing output with a limited number of
So
people.
you're saying they need to be laser focused on
Yeah,
the initiatives that'll have the biggest impact?
right.
Makes me wonder how they decide what to prioritize.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. We can only, speculate based on these reports, but I imagine they're probably concentrating on things like enhancing security features,
Hmm.
making the user experience even smoother, or
Yeah.
maybe exploring new integrations with other
Okay,
platforms.
so it's this balancing act between like pushing the boundaries of innovation while still ensuring that they can actually operate efficiently with this limited team.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But technology is just one piece of the puzzle.
Okay.
The reports also stress the critical role of risk management, especially in the world of finance.
Oh yeah, that's a big one. I mean, when you're dealing with people's money, the stakes are high.
Right.
And the 2024 10Q reports, especially the one from the first quarter, they don't sugarcoat the potential downsides.
Yeah.
There's fraud, security breaches, regulatory scrutiny. It's a minefield out there.
Yeah, it really is. And those risks are really amplified by Block's very business model. They're facilitating transactions, they're extending credit, they're handling sensitive, personal and financial data. It's a really complex web of potential vulnerabilities.
So how do they even begin to address those risks?
Right.
Like what kind of systems do they have in place?
Yeah. Well, while the reports don't dive into like the really specific details, we can kind of infer some of their strategies.
Right.
So they likely have, really robust fraud detection systems, multi-layered security protocols, and dedicated teams that are monitoring for threats like
Right.
24/7.
Okay, and let's not forget about regulations.
Oh, right.
As Block, expands globally and they start offering, more complex financial products, staying compliant, that has got to become even more challenging.
Oh, for sure, for sure. Keeping up with that ever-changing regulatory landscape, it's a full-time job in itself.
Yeah.
And any missteps could have some really serious consequences.
Okay. So they're building, sophisticated technology, managing this whole web of risks, but but none of that matters if they can't actually attract users in the first place, right?
Right.
And more importantly, keep them coming back for more.
Yeah, you're hitting on another really crucial operational area, which
Yes.
is customer acquisition and retention. And it's actually really fascinating to see how Block approaches this across their two distinct ecosystems.
Yeah.
Catering to both those businesses and individuals.
Right, because their target audiences
Yeah.
have very different needs
Right.
and expectations.
Exactly, exactly. And the 2023 10K, it highlights the importance of creating this cohesive and seamless experience, whether you're a business owner using Square
Right.
or an individual, managing your finances on Cash App.
Okay, but let's be realistic. It's a fiercely competitive market out there.
Oh, yeah.
So how do they actually stand out from the crowd and convince people to choose Block over all the other options?
Yeah, that's a great question. Well, first and foremost, they have to deliver top-notch products.
Of course.
And the first quarter, 2024 10Q mentions, significant investments in product development.
Yeah.
And the third quarter, 2024 10Q even suggests that they're willing to like take some financial hits
Oh.
to make sure that their offerings are competitive.
Okay, so they're willing to make some tough choices
Right.
to stay ahead of the game.
Right.
But having great products is only half the battle.
Right. Exactly. They also need to get the word out.
Yeah.
Sales and marketing play a major role here,
Mhm.
and the reports consistently, list them as major expenses.
It makes you wonder what kind of strategies they're using. Are they doing traditional advertising? Are they focused on digital marketing? Or is it maybe like a combination of both?
That's a great question, and the reports, unfortunately, they don't reveal those specifics.
Okay.
You know, are they partnering with influencers? Are they leveraging their existing user base to spread the word? You know, it's intriguing to think about all the different possibilities.
Yeah. And it's not just about getting people to try Block, right? It's about building a loyal customer base that sticks around for the long haul.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly. And the 2023 10K overview kind of hints at this. They emphasize the importance of building trust
Okay.
and going beyond just transactions
Yeah.
to create a lasting relationship with users.
So it's about providing like exceptional customer service, offering personalized rewards,
Hmm.
maybe even fostering some kind of sense of community among users.
I got it. Customer retention is all about building a connection
Hmm.
that goes beyond just a simple transaction.
Okay. So we've got, cutting edge technology, a robust approach to risk management, and this laser focus on attracting and retaining customers.
Yeah.
But there's one more piece of the puzzle that I think the reports consistently highlight,
Mm.
which is partnerships.
Right, right. Remember, Block, they're not operating in a vacuum. You
Yeah.
know, they're part of this complex ecosystem that involves payment networks, banks, and all these other key players in the financial world.
And the 2022 10K makes it really clear that these relationships are absolutely essential. They enable Block to expand its offerings, reach new markets, and tap into this wider network of expertise.
Exactly, exactly. Think about it. To process payments globally, they need to work with all these different financial institutions
Yeah.
and navigate all these different regulatory frameworks.
Right. Right.
To offer loans, they might need to partner with banks or other lending institutions. It's all about collaboration and strategic alliances.
But the reports also point out some potential risks associated with these
Yeah.
partnerships.
Right.
What happens if a key partner, becomes unreliable or changes its terms or even goes out of business?
Yeah, yeah, you're right. And the first quarter 2024 10Q even mentions the risk of third-party investors losing interest in buying Square loans, which could which
Yeah.
could really leave Block in a tough spot.
Yeah, that's a sobering reminder that Block's success is to some extent tied to the actions and decisions of others.
Mhm.
It makes you wonder how they choose their partners in the first place.
It's a crucial consideration. They have to really carefully vet any potential partners,
Yeah.
establish really clear agreements and have contingency plans in place, just in case things go south.
It's all about managing those relationships effectively,
Yeah,
finding the right balance between collaboration and control.
exactly, exactly. So we've covered a lot of ground here.
We have.
We've seen how Block relies on technology development, risk management, customer acquisition and retention, and strategic partnerships to make this complex operation run smoothly.
It's a lot to manage,
Yeah.
but it seems like they're doing a pretty good job so far.
Yeah, I think so.
But what does this all mean in the grand scheme of things?
That's a great question. And that's the question we're going to tackle in part 3,
All right.
where we're going to zoom out and explore the broader implications of Block's business model and their vision for the future of finance. So stay tuned.
Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been on quite a journey exploring this whole intricate world of Block Inc.'s business model.
Yeah, we have. We've uncovered, how they make money, what their biggest costs are, the value they offer to their users, and those key operations they really rely on to keep it all running smoothly.
Right, right.
But now I think it's time to kind of step back and look at the bigger picture.
Okay, I'm ready for the grand finale.
All right.
So where do we even begin with the bigger picture when it comes to Block? I mean, they're doing so many things that it's kind of hard to wrap my head around the overall impact.
Yeah. Well, one thing that really stands out to me is their commitment to decentralization.
Yeah.
And it's this theme that's kind of like subtly woven into their 2023 10K overview.
Okay.
And it's not just about building a successful business. It seems like they're aiming for something much bigger,
Okay.
like reshaping the very foundations of finance.
You're talking about their work with initiatives like TBD.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. It's all about creating this like more open and accessible financial system, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Block's really trying to empower individuals and businesses, giving them more control over their own financial lives.
Right.
And and it's a bold vision,
Yeah.
but it also, raises a lot of questions.
Like how does this like decentralized approach fit into a world that's still so heavily reliant on traditional banks
Right.
and financial institutions,
Yeah.
It seems like a pretty radical shift.
It is. It is. And it's bound to face some resistance along the way.
Right.
Just imagine, like, the regulatory challenges they must be up against, as Block kind of pushes into this uncharted territory.
Yeah.
Regulators are scrambling to keep up, trying to understand, the implications of this whole new financial landscape.
Right, right. And
And,
let's not forget about like the competitive dynamics at play here,
oh
right?
yeah.
I mean, we've talked about those big players like Apple and Google, but there are like tons of other fintech startups and established companies all kind of vying for that same market share.
Yeah.
So how does Block maintain its edge in such a crowded and competitive arena?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question. They have to constantly innovate, anticipate future trends, and really adapt quickly to these changing customer needs.
Yeah.
It's like this relentless race to stay ahead of the curve.
Okay. And speaking of challenges, what about the risks involved? I
Right.
mean, we've touched on like some of the potential downsides of operating in this financial technology space.
Yeah.
But as Block keeps expanding its offerings
Yeah.
and pushing into new markets, those risks just multiply.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And the 2024 10Q reports, particularly the one from the first quarter, they highlight some of these challenges. Managing transaction losses, safeguarding customer funds,
Hmm.
ensuring regulatory compliance, mitigating security breaches.
Right.
It's a lot to juggle.
Yeah, any misstep could have like some pretty major consequences for Block and its users. It seems like they're kind of walking a tightrope here.
They are, they are.
But at the end of the day, I keep coming back to this question. What does all this mean for the future of finance?
Right. That's the big question, isn't it? Is Block truly leading us into this new era of financial empowerment?
Yeah,
Or are they just another player in a system that's ultimately resistant to any kind of fundamental change?
it's fascinating to think
It
about. I
is.
mean, these reports, they don't give us all the answers, but they definitely provide a glimpse into this company that's not afraid to push boundaries
Yeah.
and challenge the status quo.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. And as we wrap up our deep dive here,
Yeah.
I encourage you, the listener, to keep exploring blocking.
Yeah.
Think about, the long-term implications of their vision and the role they might play in shaping the future of finance.
Yeah. It's a future full possibilities and
Right.
potential pitfalls. It'll be interesting to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, for sure.
And that concludes our deep dive into the fascinating world of Block Inc. Thanks for joining us.